Hello and welcome. Today's project is all about two pathways that can lead you to anxiety. I'm talking about the cortical pathway and then the amygdaloid pathway. And it's really important to understand these two pathways because if you're suffering from anxiety, it's important to know what's really going on underneath the surface. So I want to start off this video by talking about a scenario that you can relate to, and this is something I was dealing with in the past. So you feel a strange sensation, and this sensation causes what if thoughts. What if it's this? And it makes you think, oh God, what could this be? And then you imagine the worst case scenario, and then you go on Google, and then the Google worsens your symptoms, and then you engage in coping strategies like reassurance seeking, staying at home, avoidance, and then you keep on Googling, and then you are obsessing and you're completely focused in on what's going on internally. And this can detach you from the external world. It can put family, it could put work, it could put everything else on the back burner. And this becomes your main focus in your life. So what's going on here? Let's talk about the cortex first. The cortex is the part of the brain, the large part of our brain right underneath the top part of our skull here behind our eyes, that is thinking, oh God, what if? And then using imagery. And that imagery then leads you to becoming extremely anxious, right? So there's two hemispheres to the cortex. The left hemisphere is for rational thoughts. It's for words, processing words and language. And then the right hemisphere is for imagination, preparation, right? Emotional thoughts. And when I say preparation, I mean when you have a job interview coming up in the future, what do? You imagine. And usually you imagine the worst case scenario, and that's the cortex. And then underneath the cortex, underneath the surface, is the amygdala, right? The amygdala works unconsciously. It's been evolving in us for hundreds of thousands of years, and it's there to keep us safe. And the amygdala is that fight, flight, or freeze response. That's the part of our brain that works instantaneously when we come into contact with a potential threat, right? It's that sudden reaction. It's that initial sudden reaction. And these systems, the cortex and the amygdala, are connected to each other. So if you can think yourself into a panic attack. You can imagine yourself in the worst case scenario, and that triggers your amygdala, right? And so the amygdala is for emotional memories. And it's also works by association. And it activates when we are in the unknown territory, when we're in uncertainty. So you go hiking in the woods and you turn a corner and you're like, where's the pathway? I don't remember how I got here. My phone is not working. And all of a sudden, what happens? You're in unknown territory. And then because you're in unknown territory, the amygdala activates. And because, what are you going to do now? How are you going to get out of here? This forest that I thought was safe is now a potential threat to my life. The forest is what's blocking me from being safe in my safe zone from anywhere else. Being in the safe zone is that known territory. So the forest has now become unknown, and it's blocking you from any known territory, any safe areas, right? And so now it's active. So the amygdala is our threat detection system. It's constantly scanning and alert. And whenever we are in unknown, what does that mean? It's uncertain. I got to keep Brad safe. I got to keep you safe. It activates, right? So that we can flee, so that we can fight, or, first thing we do is freeze, right? We go, oh no. And so the amygdala takes over all other brain processes. So when the amygdala activates, you can't really think your way out of a panic attack, can you? Why not? Because, well, it takes over to keep you safe. It doesn't want to use any rational thinking. If you use rational thinking in that moment, what happens? Well, you might die, right? So it works unconsciously, and it works instantaneously so that you can respond accordingly and you can survive, right? It's a survival mechanism. And so earlier I said the amygdala works by association. What does that mean? Well, if you have a panic attack in a classroom and you run out of the classroom, well, and then you go to the mall, well, what happens in that classroom, the elements of that classroom become realized in the mall environment. Environments that are beyond your safe zone. That environments that make you feel trapped. So if I were in a classroom and I had a panic attack and then I go to a concert venue, I'm in another environment that makes me feel trapped. It's working by association. But also, if a strange sensation pops up inside, that's unknown, right? The sensation is unknown. And so that unknown can carry with you in other environments. If you're at work and the strange sensation, this unknown sensation pops up, what happens? It's unknown. So your amygdala activates because the sensation's unknown, right? Potential threat to your life. You're on the subway, the strange unknown sensation pops up. What happens? Potential threat. What if I die? What if I have a heart attack? What if I have cancer? What if? And so then, because that strange sensation pops up on the subway, then when you go on the subway the next time, because the subway produced that emotional memory, you're going to feel the unknown again, right? So that's what I mean by association. And the amygdala is for emotional memories. So you had an emotional experience on the subway, and then you go home and then you're like, oh, thank God it's over. You go back on the subway, what happens? The subway is associated to that emotional memory, and now you're reliving the experience all over again. So that's what's going on. And the thing is, if you run out of the environment that's causing you that negative emotion, that's causing you fear, the act of running is really enhancing your fear of the environment. So your actions also determine how you get over your fears. Your actions determine whether or not you speak the right language to the amygdala, right? So if you run out of the environment, you're telling your amygdala that this environment is scary, it's fearful. And if you stay in the environment, what happens? And you prove to the amygdala that you won't die, right? That's huge, right? And so let's go back to the scenario. So the sensation is unknown to you. What happens? Your cortex says, oh no, what if? You imagine the worst case scenario, and then you feel the emotions from the amygdala. The emotions are fear, right? Oh my God, what's going on? And then that anxiety produces more sensations because the amygdala produces a wide range of bodily sensations. So I hope this video has helped you to recognize these two pathways that lead to anxiety and oversensitization. Right. And lastly, actually, I want to point out an a situation where my amygdala became active in unknown territory. I remember years ago when I was overly sensitive, dealing with health anxiety, Maggie and I, my fiance, we went camping. And as soon as I left the city driving, my amygdala activated because I was in that unknown territory. Anything unknown to me produced anxiety. I would feel those sensations, shallow depth of field, racing heart, that shallow breathing, and then I would become so internal. And so whenever I was in an environment that was unfamiliar and away from anything safe, my anxiety would activate, and those sensations would make me go, what do these mean? I might faint, I might die of a heart attack, I might not breathe and then die here, or, whatever it is, I might throw up. And so those sensations produced more anxiety. And you can see how this becomes a loop. So I hope this video has helped you to recognize these two pathways, and re-listen to the video, re-watch the video, and take notes. It's super important. And lastly, do not let anxiety define who you are. I will see you on the next video or podcast. Bye for now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell so that whenever a new video of mine appears, you will be one of the first to know. Namaste.